That's Ben. That's one of my roosters. ¿Dónde los demás? Oh, they're all hiding over there. And then oh, I don't know where the goat is. The goat's usually out here. Nah, I can't catch him. I'm not risking that. Shh. Also. And then this is Ben. This is a goose I've had for like about the past 3 or 4 years. My name is Jennifer Lozano. I fight at 50 kilos and I'm a 2024 Olympian. Growing up, I was very overweight and I couldn't really speak English too good. I could speak it, I understood it. I just had a very thick accent growing up because Spanish is my first language. So kids made fun of me because of that. And it was literally like to a point where I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed to speak Spanish. I was embarrassed to be, you know, Hispanic, Mexican American, like it sucked.
She was a troublemaker. So she was a happy child, very active. She started to having problems in elementary, such as the bullying, and so she was a little bit overweight. She was always a kind girl, but she started to have problems with all the kids, some kids.
So right now we're like right outside my elementary school, about a block and a half out. And this is where I would get bullied. This is one of the spots where like I'd get jumped at a lot. I used to wear my backpack so low, like back in the day, like so low. And it was mostly because I knew I was too small, too fat to like run that fast. So I knew at some point they were gonna catch up. And it was, you know, whenever they tripped me and I fell on my butt, you know, so it wouldn't hurt that bad. By the time I got home, smelling food from my grandma, like everything would go away. I would kind of forget about everything. I was like, all right, cool. And growing up, that was my biggest coping mechanisms, food. So I ended up joining a gym in the South Side because I told my mom I wanted to defend myself. I never really told her why or like what was going on. She just was like, okay, cool. Like, and she knew I needed a sport to continue in or be in because I was very overweight. And since that first day, as hot as it was in that gym in the South Side, like that to me was everything. Like I felt so powerful, so confident, just knowing I could throw a jab, just knowing I could throw a hook, just knowing like I could keep my hands up and defend myself. You know, I started getting confident, I started losing weight, and I liked that. So I told my mom I wanted to compete because I would see the guys come in with belts and medals and trophies, and I was like, I want one. We want to go speak to the coach, and the coach was like, no. When
I asked the coach that she wanted to go in the ring, and he said, no, these are male kids, you're a female. So I was like, okay, coach, thank you so much for your time. Well, you're gonna see her. You'll see her. Then we went to look for another gym.
Looking back at it, and like, cause that moment always like every now and then it'll be in my head, like it'll just come back and like I'll remember like literally looking up and hearing my mom say that, and like the coach is kind of being like you're crazy, like just giving her that look like, girl, like you're crazy. And it's just like, dang, like even when I didn't think I was great, even when I thought like I had that same mentality, like this is Laredo, like I was born here, I'm gonna die here, like I'm gonna end up being something else, you know, like this is gonna be my career. Like thinking back at it, I'm like, dang, like I guess a mama's intuition like never lies. Like look at where I am now, like I'm trying to be one of the greatest to ever do it, like in a female side, and just make a big impact for females themselves and just the future generations that are to come.
Her and her mom came into the gym because at that time we had a small team, a small competitive team, but then we mostly had classes, youth classes, boxing fundamentals classes. So she started off in our youth class, right? The younger group. She was definitely on top of coach. Like she made it very clear on a regular basis that she wanted to box.
So we moved her to the teen class, and then after that she started sparring, and you know, she started, you know, looking better as time passed. And then all of a sudden we started going out of town. We would take it with her for all the sparring trips we had out of town. I think after about 6 to 8 months, she was already in the ring. I think she had her first fight in Corpus, and she won her first belt there as well.
Actually, after winning, I think like my second, third national title, he was out there too with his team. He came up to me personally after my fight, and I didn't even know, like, he just came up to me, he tapped me on my shoulder, and I turned, and I was like, oh snap, like, yo, what's up? And he was like, hey man, like, congrats, like, look at where you are, like, I'm so sorry I doubted you, like, your mom was right. It was at that moment where I started thinking back at that moment, like, when I was a kid, and I was like, oh crap, like, my mom did say this, like, I remember now, and like, I talked to my mom, and mom was like, good, I'm glad he realized, because you know, you're only getting started. The first time I ever competed, I competed in a very heavy weight class. I was at 125. I had to drop from like 130, 132. This girl had 6 fights and she was undefeated. She was very well known in the valley, like this and that. And I'm just starting off with 0, and I'm like, oh my God, like this chick is undefeated. But I went with that mindset, like, hell no, like, I'm gonna mess you up, like right here, right now, like you're not gonna get through me, like, even though I was just starting, like, I was nervous, but it wasn't like nervous, I was scared. It was more nervous, like, I'm excited to just get in there and get it over with. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I was swinging for my life. I don't know what I was doing. Like, my first fight, everything Eddie told me went straight out my head, and it was like a Game Boy. Like, we were just throwing and throwing and throwing. And then the third round, I got dropped. And it wasn't even because of the hit, it wasn't nothing like that. It was because I was so tired, so exhausted. I was like, oh my God. I think my first fight was when I realized, like, I'm never gonna be looked at as weak. Like, never again is that ever gonna happen. Like, I'm not gonna look at anybody from the floor. I'm not, like, I've been in this position before and I've already worked so hard to get out of it. I'm not gonna go back. So I remember getting up and smacking my gloves like I do to this day. Like, I get mad, I'll smack my gloves. I just went at her and, you know, I ended up winning unanimous. And I was like, man, that's crazy. I don't even know how I did that, but I was her first loss. And then after that, like, drama like kind of bursted because nobody knew who I was, and like she had been in the game for a while. I ended up fighting this girl about 2-3 more times, beat her all 2-3 times. Ended up fighting her cousin, fought her cousin a lot of times, and then ended up fighting someone else, and like, you know, my record just started building up.
It was interesting. I know she picked it up more to lose weight at the beginning. It was more of like just wanting to lose weight and defend herself, which I thought was amazing. It was really great that she wanted to do that. But then it started turning into more, and that's when we were like, oh, she's actually really good. And it was her coaches who were really saying, like, she has something, she has potential, like she can actually go and compete. The fact that the coaches really saw something in her and potential, then started working more with her to grow those skills, was when we also realized, like, okay, she's being dedicated, committed to really working on this and it becoming more than just a hobby.
I noted something different on her, that she was learning a lot. Her and coach were like one. They were connected, and I was like, okay, so this is working out. They're a teamwork now. They're like a family now. You have to be connected so that you can be successful. And I noticed that on them. So I was like, okay, so we're good.
Just her passion to fight was really different from everybody else's. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't about like, who am I gonna fight and am I gonna win? She just wanted to get it on. Her and coach started getting really attached to each other as far as like, let's go kick some ass and let's go this. So they got really a really tight bond. And then we started like really looking for bouts for Jenny. And about 16, right? We started saying like, Jenny's the one, like she's the only one. If anybody's gonna make it, it's gonna be her.
Once I went from like regionals to state, from state to nationals, and I won my first ever national, that was a very surreal moment because I didn't even know what the nationals were. Like, I didn't know how big it was. Like, mind you, I'm from a small little town, and a lot of people, like, when I say that, like, I mean, growing up, it's hard to see anything further than Laredo, like that you're gonna get for it, you're gonna make it for it, you're gonna get out. As years went by 2012, I remember Marlene was supposed to go for her semifinals for her bronze. Olympics was going on, Nationals was going on at the same time. It was in Dallas. And I didn't know anything about the Olympics. And so I just remember being at weigh-ins and this ref talking about her, like, Marlene, like, that's crazy. Marlene's about to go up. Like, oh, she's gonna do so good, like this and that. I'm like, Marlene, who's Marlene? And they were like, you don't know who Marlene is? Like, where are you from? And I was like, Laredo. And they were like, you're from Texas and you don't even know who Marlene is? And I'm like, bro, no, who is Marlene? So they ended up telling me, like, you know, she's going to the Olympics. I'm like, what are the Olympics? So they start telling me, like, only the best of the best go out there. Like, the best in the world go. It's so hard to get there, like this and that, yada, yada. And I was like, huh, if I'm the best in the nation, I can be the best in the world, why not? And that's when I started saying, like, I think I'm pretty good. I think I'm not just good, I think I'm great. And I think I can be better. I think I can really prove a point. And I think I can really get my respect, the respect I've always wanted since I was a kid. That's when my mindset, my journey really started. And I started saying it out loud. As soon as I came home, as soon as everything, I was like, I'm going to the Olympics. One day or another, I'm gonna go to the Olympics.
She had another vision. Like she was like, okay, so I want to be there. I want to be there as she is. And I want to be like her mom. And I was like, okay, so this is another level.
I started getting more experience, more fights, this and that. But the more I said it, the more people called me crazy. A lot of people left my side. A lot of people thought I was just, delusional. Like, you're a girl. Like, look at where you're from. You're never gonna be anything. Like, you're not gonna make it. Who are you and why you? I just remember I was like, I'm gonna prove every single one of y'all wrong. And so that kept me going, and I had that fire to just want to prove something, not just to myself, but to everybody who ever doubted me, thought I couldn't make it, and to every kid who ever went through whatever I went through when I was a kid too, and felt the way I felt once at some point. I had a lot of highs, like I was winning nationals like crazy. I was winning, small fights, small tournaments, beating, big time names. But with those like highs and this and that also came lows. Coming home and kind of getting that, like, okay, well, you failed type of energy at my house. Like, damn, like you wasted our time. I guess coming back home with those losses on my back, with that chip on my shoulder, like kind of really just sunk deep. But I'm glad I lost in those smaller tournaments when I was a kid rather than now, because that was all just preparation for now. And then I started winning and this and that. And 2019 hit. And I think 2019 was probably like my worst year. So 2019, I was on a roll, I was winning back-to-back nationals and smokers and tournaments and left and right, I was going crazy. And I was stopping girls, me and my coach started realizing like my potential and like how much I could advance and how fast I was advancing. Everything was good, everything was great. And then my grandma passed away. And that's when shit just hit the fan and I just sank. My grandma means and meant to me everything. She was like a second mom. My grandma was a big reason on my why, because she believed in me like nobody else. She believed in a way that sometimes I didn't believe in. Like, she would say crazy things before things would even happen, before things were even possible. There's belief and belief. Like, belief would be like, okay, like, it could happen. But to believe is to truly know and be confident that it's gonna happen. And my grandma always believed. We just got to my grandma's house. I haven't been here since that whole situation happened with my grandma. I knew what I was expecting coming here. I guess it's just different, actually, just being here. And I guess it's just right now, like more than in a while, it just brings me back to that day, man. Like, I was just with her, man. Like a week before that shit went down. And going back to that day, I remember waking up in the morning and, she hadn't been answering that week. There had just been a bad shootout about a few days back. And we could hear it all the way from my house. I remember I slept with my mom that night because it was just so loud. We could hear it from across. We're like, what the heck? And it lasted a while, but eventually you get used to the gunshots and you just kind of go to sleep. So it was like, whatever. And so the next day we saw it on the news, like bad, shootout, like with cartel trying to fight with territory, stuff like that. And I was just like, damn. And it always happens. We were used to it, so we didn't think anything of it. But then we called my grandma, no answer first day, second day, no answer, third day, no answer, fourth day, no answer. Friday comes, my mom wants to go check up on her, like, let's go. I wanted to go hang out with my friends. And me, stupidly, I was like, nah, like, she's fine. Because usually my grandma didn't answer for a few days, and turns out, like, because she didn't know how to work the phone or touch the phone, like, she would just wait for her to call. And if she would miss it, she couldn't call back because she didn't know how to use the phone. Like, okay, my mom kind of tried forgetting about it. She didn't sleep all night. And I went out. And I was just having dinner with my friends. The next day, she woke me up super early and was like, okay, let's go. Like, something's not sitting right with me. Let's go now. I was like, okay. I'm not thinking anything. I'm thinking my grandma's fine. My grandma's cool. I just saw her. Like, she's okay. My grandma is okay. I just saw her. And then we get to her house. We didn't have keys to open that metal door. So my mom starts knocking on the windows, and she sees that my grandma's fan is tilted over on the floor, but it's still on. My grandma never left the house without turning off everything, and absolutely everything. So seeing that, that's when we started freaking out more. We started banging on the windows a little bit more. We started banging. We couldn't break the windows and just break in because the windows were barred. And so we go all the way to the back. There's another door in the back. And this is old, rusty, like metal door with a chain on it. And my mom's like, pull it. I need you to pull this as hard as you can. Mind you, it's metal. I'm like, Mom, I can't pull this. Like, what the heck? She's like, Jen, I need you to pull it. Like, I'm not messing with you. Like, do it now. I'm like, okay. So I pull. Finally, it breaks. The door opens slightly to a point where only I can fit. So my mom says, go in there and open the door for me. So I crawl in. When I crawl in, it is harder than what it is outside. So as I walk down this hallway and I saw her on the floor, and I swear to this day I saw her move. And so that's when I ran. I threw down the second door, which was to her bedroom. And then as soon as I turned, I slipped. And when I slipped, I didn't know what the heck I had fallen on. I just know that's when my body went into shock. And I know it went into shock because it was like that moment in movies where your ears ring and you think, that's never gonna happen in person. Like, no way that your body goes into that much of a shock. Well, it does happen. And I didn't say anything, I didn't scream, I didn't cry. But the first thing I saw was my grandma laying face down, and I saw her feet, and her feet were black. And I was scared to look up. I was so scared to look up, but I still did. And I remember my eyes were just going from her feet all the way back up. And I looked down, and I was covered in blood, and it was her blood. It was just a puddle, a big puddle. I'm still not crying. I'm still in shock. I still hear that ringing noise, and I remember getting up. And when I got up, I remember trying to flip her over. I don't know why, what made me do this? And when I flipped her over, she didn't have a face. And she was being eaten by like stuff. And so I just flipped her back over, and that's when I started screaming. I started screaming and I started crying. Tears were just coming down my face, and I could hear my mom screaming for her life, like, open the door, like, what is it? And I opened the door, and like, as much as in my head I wanted to stop my mom from seeing what she was about to see and just get her out, I couldn't react. Like, my body was in such a shock. It was like I was seeing myself from like the outside. It just felt like a dream. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like, I had just seen her less than a week ago, man. Oh man, I feel a lot of guilt. A lot of guilt, man. But not appreciating my time with her. Like, I was just being a kid. And it was like, I had seen her once and take advantage of that. And then, like, the next time I saw her, like, she was gone. And I took advantage of that. Like, I took it for granted. Being back here just is a constant reminder, I guess, like, that, like, I was here, bro. Like, she was cool, she was fine. And then literally about 6-7 days later, like, she wasn't here, man. And that just makes me mad, because, like, bro, I had to realize, like, the hard way. And, like, now all I got is, like, memories, and, like, half of those are, like, gone because of what happened, like, the way I lost her, the way I found her, man. Like, it's hard because a lot of people say, like, just remember the good days, just remember this, just remember that, but it's hard when this certain image, like, it just lingers around, man. One, I hope she's proud. I hope she said like that she's proud that I made it. And I feel like she'd be like, sí, pollita, like, ya ves, te dije, pollita, te dije. And like, I just hope I do truly do make her proud and stuff, even though I do make mistakes. Like, I know I messed up. I know I made my errors and stuff, but I hope, like, even despite that, like, I hope she sees like the good I'm trying to do. And just like what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to be, how I carry her with me. And I hope she knows, like, I'm never gonna forget her. Getting inside the ring, I feel her energy, I feel her presence. And when I pray and I bend down on my knee, I pray not just to God, but to her too. And I just pray that she protects me, she gives me the ability to come out with my hand raised, and I hope that I give her a great show. And, you know, I just try to represent her as bad as I can, you know, in there by being the best troublemaker that I can. My world was gray and black after that. Like, I didn't care about myself, I didn't care about nothing, I didn't care about who was in front of me, I didn't care about my friends, and I didn't care about my family, nothing.
It was very hard for her. She was, of course, very sad. She felt, I would say, depressed. Everyone knows her as such a bubbly person, someone great to be around with. And then when that happened, she just completely changed and didn't want to laugh, didn't want to be around people. She didn't really want to really talk to anybody. She was just wanting to be by herself, and we could see that. We could all see that.
It was hard because I didn't know who to talk to. I lost a lot of friends in that too because of my own self and because they just didn't understand what I was going through. The one person who really kept me from fighting in school during this point of time in my life was Chris.
When I first met her, it was like I finally put a face to the name. Like, it was like, oh, you're Jennifer Lozano, you're like the girl that boxes, right? And she's like, yeah, that's me. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's so nice to meet you. Her energy was just like mine, so I really, really liked that. Like, I really liked how like outgoing she was. She was always like, hey, like always energetic and always wanting to do something. Like, she was doing so good, and then that happened, and it was like a crash of emotions, and she wasn't all there. She wasn't the Jenny that she used to be, and she's not the Jenny that she used to be. It was a hard struggle that I don't really like talking about because, you know, it wasn't, because I went through it with her, and it was a big thing.
Chris saved my life. Like, it got to a point where I had to eat alone for months at the gym by myself because I couldn't be around nobody, because I felt like I was a danger to everybody else, because I felt like I was gonna hurt somebody. She ate with me in the gym alone, in the middle of nowhere. Like, we didn't even speak. She just wanted to be there, just by my side, even if I didn't talk to her, even if nothing. She had to walk me to my classes because I couldn't, bro. Like, somebody stepped on my Crocs, stepped on me, looked at me funny, bumped into my shoulder because it was so crowded in the hallway. Like, a fight was about to happen. I was not having it.
I think it's made her stronger in a way too, where like her mentality has gotten stronger, and her as a person has learned more and become more wise on how to like handle situations like that. Like, I could tell you any obstacle that she goes through, any obstacle she faces, whether it's financial or mentally or physically, she's gonna push through it. And that's the type of mentality she had before, but now it's even stronger because she's had to push through so much.
She pushed herself out of it. You know, we gave her space. We were not one to come in and say like, hey, you know, get out of the house, you need to train. No, we just stood back, and she came to us and she said, I'm ready. You know, it's been hard and I'm ready. And she knew that she didn't want to be in that space anymore. As hard it was to come out, she knew how horrible it was there. So I think she overcome that by pushing herself out of that.
Getting ready for the 2019 Youth Nationals, I was mentally, I felt prepared with just anger and toughness. I wasn't thinking of a game plan. I was just going in there to hurt somebody. I was going in there to see blood, to see somebody cry. I was going in there to hurt. But really, I was so blind. So fast forward, nationals, I was in semis. I ended up fighting my fellow Olympian, Alyssa Mendoza. And, you know, it was a very tough fight.
I went into the ring, she was staring me down, because if you know Jen, she stares her opponents down, mean mugging them everything, and that's how it was. And good thing I don't really get too intimidated by that stuff, but I was like, wow, this girl, I think she hates me. First round, bell rings, and she comes running out to me. And I remember she just stomps her foot right at me. First round to the third round, we just like went at it. We were just getting the best of each other, exchanging. She had caught me with some big haymakers, I would say. We were just going back and forth, but yeah, she seemed like she wanted to rip my head off. I could feel that in the fight, that she had that aggression of like, we're not playing around, like this is it.
So me and Lissa banged it out. You know, we went back and forth, toe to toe, and it was a close fight. Eddie was just screaming at me at the corner, like, what are you doing? Like, you have no game plan. Like, we worked all this hard for what? Like, for what? You're gonna let it go? Like, da-da-da. I was tired, I was exhausted, but I was just so mad.
Of course, it made me have to level up too, to ultimately get the decision. And that's how it happened is, yeah, we got the decision. I always really liked Jen after that. I would go talk to her after nationals and stuff, just because, to me, she earned my respect because she stayed and she fought with me, versus some other fighters that just like to hold me and hold, but she stayed and exchanged, and that for me was enough to earn my respect, for sure.
I remember afterwards, I hugged her when the decision was made to split. And within that moment, that split second of just them raising her hand, I felt this big load come off my chest and my body, just like if I could breathe. Getting off the ring, and my coach told me off. I was like, I'm fine. I was like, and I looked at him and I told him, I was like, I'm okay. I was like, I'm okay. After that, like, that's what made me get my shit together. At least it was a start. Because even though Alyssa might not remember it, to her it was just another fight. Like, to me, she saved my life. Like, if she wouldn't have fought me with that dog in her she has, with that demon type, and like she didn't stand 10 toes with me, like, it would have been a completely different situation. I don't think I would have been here today.
That's what I love about this sport is, you know, back then me and Jen didn't really know each other. We weren't cool or whatever, but now that we're both on the team, it's like, to get here, we had so many ups and downs, and to know that, okay, yeah, my loss was kind of a down since I won, but at the same time, it boosted her up to where, look at where we both are now. I guess I'm honored to have that life-changing effect for Jen, because sometimes when stuff like that happens, it's either you quit, give up, or you keep going. And she definitely kept going to where she is now.
After that fight, my life kind of took a U-turn in a way where I kind of found myself again. I ended up getting my groove back. I ended up actually coping better, being smarter, I matured, and everything started clicking together. So I started being on a roll. I started stopping girls, I started getting most outstanding boxer, this and that. We never really got that opportunity from Team USA, at least because we didn't know how it worked. And we were just kind of like, okay, Olympics is kind of out the way now. Like, I wish I could have done it, but sadly I did it, you know.
We had already won a spot, and still we weren't getting called, you know, to go to the camp, and we're like, oh man, what's going on? So we won all year, and then finally, I mean, I think we're coming down from a sparring actually from Brownsville, from the Valley. We're on our way down, I think about an hour away from Laredo, and she gets a phone call. Hey Jenny, it's calling from USA, and we're just like, USA. I'm like, what USA? I'm like, what? Like, right? They're calling us, they want me to go to camp. They're like, oh man, when do they want Monday? Like, we're like, all right, we're going, Jen, like, let's go.
Instead of resting, I came straight home, started training specifically for that camp. I don't know who I was gonna face, what I was gonna face, what the heck I was gonna do. I ended up going to camp. Sadly, I didn't get selected, but that didn't stop me. You know, Billy was the one who told me, come back. Keep coming back, because I see a gold medalist on top of that podium in the Olympics. Like, I see an Olympian, come back. Hearing that from an Olympic coach who has seen eras and generations of greats, it definitely inspired me to come back and keep trying each and every time. And he wanted me lower. He was like, go to nationals on 114. I was like, damn, I haven't hit 114 in like years. But I didn't hesitate. I was like, okay, bet, I got you. Boom, I end up winning nationals. I get selected to go for a selection camp. Boom, I go, I don't get the spot. And so they still want me to go to these international tournaments to get experience. So I'm like, bet. They tell me, we want you to go, but since there's already somebody at 114, we need you at 110. I hadn't hit 110 since I was a kid. I was like, okay, without hesitation, I didn't say no, I didn't say I can't make it, I can't do it, nothing. I immediately said, okay, you got it, I got you. I'm gonna make 110 no matter what it takes. And by some miracle, I ended up making 110. And not just that, About 2 weeks after that meeting, Matt comes in the gym, Matt Johnson, and he says the Olympic weight classes have officially changed. The weight classes officially are now 50, 54, 57, etc. And I hear 50 and everybody looks at me because they had just given me that spot. And so I'm like, oh my God, I'm in an Olympic weight. This is crazy. So I knew as soon as I won Ecuador, I was gonna get my spot. I was gonna show them who I was, and I was gonna put my name up there. Winning gold in my first international tournament, which was in Guayaquil, Ecuador, it was crazy. I felt like I had just made history, but also I had proved everybody wrong and I had proved myself right. I promised my mom I was gonna come home with gold, and I promised her I was gonna dedicate my life to this.
I just got gold, man. It's my first international trip out here with Team USA, and you know, my hard work paid off. I had to go down like a whole weight class, which was hard. Mom, if you watch this, like, I vengo con el oro, mami.
I just thought about that little kid in Laredo. I just thought about just how far I've made it. Like, it was just so crazy to me, being from where I am. I'm always gonna say that because growing up, that was never a possibility. That was something you just never said, you never even thought of. Now kids can say that. It's a possibility because they see somebody doing it. They see me and Emilio doing it. After getting my spot on the team at 110, I go to Worlds. This was supposed to be my last test to prove myself, you know, that I'm the best, that I deserve this, to officially make it my spot. Sadly, I ended up losing the first round against Uzbekistan. I kind of gave up for a little bit. Mentally, I wasn't there. Emotionally, I wasn't there. I didn't even rest. I came straight back to training because I wanted to be better. I wanted to be good. I didn't want to make the same mistakes anymore. The next tournament after that was Pueblo. I fight Philippines. I had already been sparring Philippines. I knew how she fought. I fight her the first day and I lose on a split. So I get so disappointed, so upset, but I don't relapse. I just kind of, okay. And it just made me angrier, but hungrier.
She had a bad experience in one event, and then, all right, we're gonna make it up in the other. She'd go back, and then it would be something different that would help her, or it would be against her, and she would struggle for the next event, and you know, she lost the next one, and she's like, oh man, at one point she was doubting herself, and so my wife would kind of talk to her and counsel her a little bit.
It was just a matter, like, you know, I guess everybody's different. Jenny's one of those type of people that she needs to be fueled through positivity. So it was never negative. It was never, you should have done this and you could have done this. Never. It was always like, okay, you're coming back home. We're going to watch your videos, you know, however many times it takes. We're going to hit the gym.
I go to nationals at 110 to officially qualify my spot and earn my spot the right way, right? Through policies. And I win. I take it. I go all the way. And so after that, I go to the Europeans tour. Out of 2 tournaments, I lose both. And the training camp, I look great. The fight, not so much. Whatever the excuse may be, I lost and I let myself down. And I was so upset. And I never understood why. When I was the one who kept training, I kept doing everything right. I kept doing this, I kept doing that, and I prayed to God, but then again, I resented God. Because I was like, God, you see me going through this pain, you see me going through all this, like if this isn't for me, like let me know, give me a sign, give me a signal that this is not for me. And slowly I was giving up, but I told myself, I was like, God's doing this for a reason. God's making me lose for a reason, for one reason, and that reason is gonna be because I'm gonna be an Olympian.
Now, it was a total of 4 events that she kind of had her ups and downs, and each one we'd get together and like.
But she's a true student. Like she, even to this day, like she sends Eddie all her sparrings, every fight, and Eddie's studying them before she gets here. And then when they get here, they're there for hours and hours watching them.
Kept on saying, you know what, these don't matter. These aren't qualifiers. These are learning experiences. What did we do wrong? Was it the weight? Was it the week going into the fight? Let's just correct those little things. I'm like, Jenny, all these experiences, we need them to when it really matters in the Pan Ams.
I learned that even though I was working hard, I have to work twice as hard. If I'm tired, I need to work twice as hard. If I'm sore, I need to work twice as hard. Because somewhere across the world, somebody else is working their ass off and is just as tired. So why am I putting that petty ass excuse right now? Because I'm tired. And so every time I kept telling myself, do I really want it? How bad do I want it? How hungry am I for it? Do I really want to be great, or am I just bullshitting myself? And I kept reminding myself of that why. And all of that just prepared me, and I fixed every mistake that I had in that fight. And that's what led me to the Pan Ams. So Pan Ams, first fight, in the back of my head I had demons telling me like, you lost. Like who are you? Why do you think you're gonna win? Like you've been losing all year. Like who do you think you are to win? Who do you think that your hand's gonna be raised after this? Like everybody's against you. And instead of letting that control me like it usually would in other fights, previous fights, whatever, I decided to tell myself like, nah, God knows what he's doing, and if I'm the actual champion, he'll raise my hand. If I'm not, then this isn't for me. I ended up winning. I'm like, okay, bet, I got it. And I was rusty, okay. And I was like, no excuse, I gotta do better. Second fight, I go with Venezuela. That was a tough fight. I ended up coming with that win. And that's when I was like, oh yeah, I'm about to get qualified. Next fight, boom, Canada. Semi-final, qualified fight. And I beat her unanimous. After having 2 tight fights, I finally win unanimous. And as soon as my hand was raised, it was like a sting right down my spine. It was so surreal, so crazy to me. In that moment, the only thing I was thinking about was the future, about Laredo, about me, about everything I represent, and about my mom. And I told my mom, I was like, this is why. This is why, like, I couldn't make it to your birthday, I couldn't make it to Mother's Day, I couldn't make it to family occasions and important situations that happened. This is why. Like, this is why I had to work so hard. This is why I had to sacrifice so much when I was a kid. And this is why I had to do what I had to do.
When she got that ticket, it was an amazing feeling. It was like I was shaking, she was shaking, and we were like holding each other. But I was thinking like, okay, so this is the moment. This is her moment, and this is the moment that she was expecting all these years. It was like just perfect. Everything from there was perfect. I was screaming like crazy.
Oh my God, that was such a crazy moment. It was such a crazy moment because obviously I know she has the skill and the dedication and everything she needs to get there, but the fact that it was happening at that moment, it made me just be so proud of like, this is where all your dedication come from. Like sometimes we don't understand you as a family, right? Because we're not at that level. It's hard to understand her sometimes when she's dedicated to certain things or make certain decisions. But when she got that ticket, I was like, that's why. That's where your dedication takes you, to that ticket, where you wanted to be, and she accomplished that. So I was extremely proud of her.
I mean, when she got her hands raised, it was just amazing, right?
We knew though,
Yeah.
we knew she won the fight.
It was an amazing moment.
I think I was less like shocked than I thought I was gonna be. I mean, I screamed, but a big part of me was just kind of like, okay, now she can finally relax. Like now she can breathe, and now she can focus on the Olympics, because it had been for so long just her trying to maintain her spot and get the spot and get the spot and get the spot and get the spot.
And almost
That
being
finally
in.
I was like, oh my gosh, now she can train for the ultimate goal.
This is everything she dreamed of. This is everything we would talk about in high school. This is everything. And trust me when I say, a lot of people looked at her like, you're from Laredo, dude. Like, you're not gonna make it. Seeing her qualify was crazy. I remember watching the fight, and I literally started crying, and I was at work, and everybody was like, Chris, why are you crying? Why are you crying? I'm like, it's because Jenny just qualified, and oh my gosh, she's worked so hard, and I've seen things that people don't see. I appreciate it so much, because it's like, you only get these types of friends once in a lifetime, and for you to have the opportunity to be friends with somebody that's an Olympian, it's crazy. Every doubter, every person who ever told me I wasn't gonna make it, every person who told me I was nobody, every person who told me I was gonna end up in the street or just gonna end up like everybody else, like, I proved wrong that day. To be the first Olympian, what it means to the city, to me, would be the change. The change in the mindset that Laredo has and its standards. Like, the machismo is still very strong here, especially in the south side. And just being so close to the border, it's very strong on the other side, of course. But this just goes to show that no matter where you're from, no matter where you are, where you come from, who you have, who you're surrounded by, your background, anything, like, as long as you dedicate yourself, sacrifice, and put in the work that's needed, you're gonna make it, you're gonna do it. Being this type of change in my city, and for many females and just young people and athletes and just in general, just people,
means a lot to me because it's a change I've always wanted to make. It's a change I've always wanted to be since I was a kid, and always wanted to see when I was a kid growing up. And I wish I had somebody like me, being able to warn me and tell me like, yo, life is gonna be hard. Like, don't take it personal. Just keep living through it and like keep chasing your dreams and don't stop. The type of life I live like isn't for normal people. You know, I'm not normal. And being normal is boring. So don't be normal, you know? Like, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be an athlete to be extraordinary. As long as you're just extraordinary about your dreams, as long as your dreams are crazy and people call you crazy for them, keep going.
I love you so much, Jenny. You know that although I wish I would have been more present and more there, just know that we're here for you. We'll always be here for you. You'll always be my right-hand girl. Don't forget where you come from, who you are, and stay humble. I know you're gonna reach the stars, but stay humble. I know you're a very humble person and you won't have a problem with that. But just remember where you come from and be yourself, right? Don't let other people influence you in a different way. You know what's right and you know what's wrong. And you'll continue learning, having your own experiences. And I just can't wait to continue seeing everything that you do, the lives that you change, the people that you inspire. There are already so many, and you're just starting. Imagine how many people you will impact 5-10 years from now. I love you so much. And yeah.
Yeah, I love you too, Jenny. No matter what, we're very
Yeah.
proud of it, and you're already a champ, Jen.
Yeah, oh no, she's been a champ for a long time. She's gonna be amazing in anything she does. I'm hoping that, you know, that we'll stay a close little knit family forever with Jenny, because we do consider her like, you know, a daughter at this point. She's been with us for so long. She feels like one of ours.
Yes.
But my expectations are so high for her.
I'm proud. I'm proud of how far she's come. Sorry. And something she always says is like, es con todo menos miedo, which I'm gonna translate it for you is with everything except fear. And another thing she says, everything gets worse before they get better. And sure enough, she went through the whole thing of her grandma passing away, and look at where she is now. She's on Team USA going to the Olympics of 2024. From Laredo, a city that literally nobody even knows or nobody even talks about. So if Jenny watches this, I'm proud of you. And I'm here supporting from home, and I'm always gonna be a fan.
It has been a long journey, Jenny. Everything that you have accomplished, you have done it, everything to be where you belong. And I hope that you're happy where you are. And we love you. We love you. Don't ever forget that. We're gonna be there with you all the time, whatever it takes.